Alright, I think I'm live. Assuming I'm live. Oh yeah, there we go. Alright, 13 love, 13 knowledge, 13 wisdom, 13 respect. This is your creation 13. Today we're going to be talking about spiritual connections based upon what I have researched, personally experienced through meditation, through the knowledge and awareness of being through a Christian home, as well as through the knowledge and awareness of 2010 to now about the different beings and different forms of practices on how you interact with souls, how you interact with souls. I really had to kind of just think about what that is, right? Because just like today, there's people that were talking about the Palladians and the Galactic Federation, and people talking about God and Christ and angels and interacting with all these beings, right? The interactions themselves are only real to the person. They're only real to the person. And how these souls interact is through visions, dreams, some form of telepathic communication. Now there is really 100 authentic percent no proof of these contacts, right? Whether it be Palladians or Galactic Federation of Light or Christ or angels, things like that, right? We have not physically seen pictures of these, right? We've seen drawings of people, right? People will draw what they've seen through meditation, through telepathy, things of that nature. Based on the research I've done since 2010, there's been people that are in the Secret Service, CIA, those kind of families are in that area that have had physical contact, but they can't share that information, right? You really have to be on the inside to know what's going on. You know, there is beings, based upon my observation through remote viewing, there is physical beings here that would freak somebody out if they actually seen them in person, right? Because I don't think people are ready to see something from Star Trek, right? Star Trek Next Generation, just Star Trek in general, I think gives humanity kind of a taste of what it would be like to have different life forms living among us, right? You know, we've been so brainwashed in this world of, just like I talked about in previous videos, is we've been so brainwashed in how something looks, and we have been trained to say something looks beautiful and something looks ugly. We've been trained that, right? We've been trained how to do that. That's not how things work. That's not based on instinct. We're trained on what looks beautiful and what looks ugly. And that's an important issue, right? That's important and sad that we were taught that stuff as well. So this goes into the process of connecting through meditation and through telepathy, because we are looking at or communicating with different souls. And we don't really know, as we're interacting with these beings if that's their true form or not, right? This goes into the product of imagination and the process of what I talked about again, previous video. I don't know which one it was, but on how everything is colors and just really, really interesting ways of viewing things, right? But for us to comprehend what's being presented to us, these souls or entities have to create some kind of form of interaction. But on the flip side, there's telepathy, right? So we are interacting with beings that do have physical forms. But it's really hard to distinguish between the two because you don't know, because you don't physically see them there, right? Was there a ship in the sky and they flew by, and then they contacted you? They can't come down here, but they can contact you and say, hey, how are you? And you can share information that way through telepathy. But it's only your experience, and then you can choose to write down what those experiences are, right? And then dissect why you had those encounters and what the information was. I was watching, let me see if I can find her. I don't know, I've just been really researching a lot because I'm a detective. That's pretty much in 2010. That's what Christ, my guide, he was just telling me about all these things and what to be aware of, what to be cautious with, right? Because it's you're playing in a realm unknown, right? We're not taught how to go through deep meditation. We're not taught how to interact with different beings, unless you go through a shaman, right? Or if you go into some ancient native traditions, or visit the elders, right, who have had the proper training to help guide you through, right? There's many different ways that we can look at that, and you have to break it down, right? There's so many people that are talking about all these beings and talking with beings and waiting for help and things of that nature, right? But the help is you, right? I'm here to help you guys as best as I can, working on a lot of things, and just getting down to the bottom of it, right? There's been so much illusion, distractions, deception is huge right now, and people are just wanting information on what's being presented, right? There's so many followers, but they don't question the person who's speaking and how things are being presented, right? That's huge. It's huge. You should always question people who are presenting content, right? I would hope you would question me, right? And the content that is being presented, right? But have an understanding, love, honor, and respect about it, and learn, right? If there's something that you question or concern, you create an interaction, so then we can learn from one another, right? I feel a lot of these speakers really just give a one perception of like, hey, this is my truth and that's it, without listening to somebody else's experiences and what they've discovered as well, right? I've been trying to get down to the bottom of it since 2010. Just really seeing the followers, the deceivers, and as well as the real ones, right? That live by their heart and who do have the encounters, right? Like myself, right? I will always say, I'm one of the most truthful people you'll ever meet. I'm very honest and very open, and I think it's important to present that out there So if you ever meet me, this is who you're meeting, right? There's no shades of gray or anything of that nature. This is the real me, right? I don't have to put on a mask, right? But when you're interacting with souls that we don't see in the physical reality, they can put masks on, right? The Bible talks about that, and you can be deceived in so many ways. You'll see something that you think is beautiful, but there's really something disgusting inside or dirty inside, right? And that's the same with a person. You can see someone that we were taught is beautiful, but they can be a horrible person underneath, or vice versa. We judge by appearance, but on the inside, they're one of the most beautiful people you're ever going to meet, right? And it's just paying attention to your awareness and your surroundings, and that's what I do, right? I observe when I interact with people, right? I look right into their eyes and interact. That way then, they can see me through my eyes and I can see them through their eyes, because that's how you read a person's soul. You gain that connection. You're totally focused on them. And that's through interacting with different souls as well. Is you want to know their will and intent. You want to know why they're interacting. You don't want to just say, "Oh, Jesus has come to me. Oh, he gave me a huge vision and a dream." If it's me, I'd be like, all right. And just watch and observe it, right? I do that with my dreams. I do that with my visions. And I observe it, right? I don't get caught up in the glamour and glory of what was presented, right? Sometimes things are beautiful. Sometimes things are very confusing. And in dreams and visions and meditation sessions, telepathy, it gets very interesting, right? I always recommend to tell people, don't ever take things literally, and don't take things lightly. Treat everything with a grain of salt, because you never know what's being presented, right? I can honestly say we're all down here for a reason, and since our soul has been placed into a human vessel, which is what this is, this human vessel has a history, and humanity itself has a job to do, was to take care of this earth. I say this all the time in my videos because it's so very important. Humanity is supposed to take care of the earth and make the earth flourish and blossom, right? We're supposed to be planting seeds and keeping everything going. Not just humanity, right? But we're supposed to be keeping trees and the grass and all the animals and insects, whatever it is, right? And just an interesting fact is insects and like flies and maggots, things like that, those are not supposed to be in a beautiful world, right? Because if you view flies and maggots and things like that, that means that there's death. That means that there's death that surrounds us, which is caused by dead flesh and manure. And it's important to bring that up because the earth is dying, and having flies and maggots around is proof that there's death that surrounds us, right? And it's important to talk about that too, right? I keep it real. We have to. And, to uplift your spirits, right? It's how you maintain your life, right? It's how you observe your life. It's how you interact with people, right? Life has many different ladders and steps that you can take, no matter what you do, right? And there's different levels that you have to learn. You can't just be at one level consistently, and so many people stay at that one level. There's things about myself that I'm at one level, and I'm trying to figure out how to move up to the next level, right? But there's many different things in my life that I make sure that I have some form of balance and leveling up, right? Just like with music back in the day, you can change the way the music basses and the beats and things like that, right? To get a good sound, you have to have it just kind of a wave effect, because if you have it all flatlined, right, it sounds horrible. So you want to be able to have the music at kind of a wave effect, so that it just kind of plays out more. And if you want more bass, or if you want the singer to be louder, you can make those adjustments. And that's what we do in our life. We have to make the adjustments. So when you're having those soul connections, right, you're talking to souls, right? I said spiritual connections because I think people are still there, but at the end of the day, we are interacting with some form of souls, of whatever they may be, right? We don't know entirely what these souls are. We know they interact with us. These souls give us names. These souls give us stories. These souls give us depth to our life, right? They can help us. They can give us information that we can use as tools, which is so very important too. Utilize them as tools, so then we can create unto the world, whether it be music or paintings or action figures, cartoons, anime, tutorials, how-tos like with meditation and yoga and workout, and there's a whole bunch of different cool things that we can bring into this reality just from these souls teaching us this information, right? We're always being taught, right? There's always something that's teaching us. There's always something that's giving us an idea, right? And we can ask ourselves that, you get an idea, but is it my idea, or did a soul give me that idea, right? Did the soul give me inspiration, or was it my soul, right? There's so many layers of what it could be. And as an observer, that's what I encourage you to look at, is be the observer, right? I work a 40+ hour job. I'm always on the go. Very little time. It's late right now. But I decided to go live because I was just trying to figure out my next move. I'm writing a book. I'm currently writing a course as well. And I was like just trying to just think and observe. I was observing some people, some friends on Facebook, and I did that for about a half hour, right? I did that for about a half hour. And it's important to be the observer of others, because you can learn from each other, right? So in some way I was like, oh man, I'm wasting my time, I need to be creating. But I actually learned from being the observer. But timing myself, I'm like, all right, you spend a half hour observing. Now it's time to create, right? And what better way to do that than just to have a conversation about these different things, right? And it's really hard. Like right now, I'm really just looking at new ways and how we can interact with these souls, with these beings, with these perceived ETs, things of that nature, right? I think we have to move to the next level of these connections, right? That's what Christ showed me, right? Christ is like, man, you got to make sure you put a golden shield on. You got to make sure it's double, triple layered, so that none of these beings can come through, because you don't know what these beings are, right? You don't know their connection. They can come in and say, oh, hey, I'm this ET being from Pleiadians or something like that, or oh, hey, I'm your great granddad or something like that, or oh, hey, I'm Jesus or an angel or an archangel Michael. You know, they can come to you and with all these different names, with a form of some kind, right? But you don't know if they're real or if what their will and intent is true and pure, right? I had to learn on how to scan people, scan souls, and say, hey, you know, what's your will and intent? Why are you here? What are you doing? There was one that I interacted with, right? And this being had friends, and I'm like, who's those friends over there? What are you talking about? I'm like, who are those friends over there? And that soul got mad, and I found out that they were trying to figure out a way to break down my shield that was around me. So his friends were trying to, so basically the one I was interacting with was trying to keep me distracted, so then their friends could figure out a way to go around the shield or figure out a way to break into my shield. And I paid attention to it. I'm like, hey, I ain't gonna fall for it, man. I'm like, you need to tell me what your will and intent is, or you're out of here. You're gone. And you got to be very firm. I don't care what a being looks like, man. You know, I've seen all sorts of different beings, and it's hard to say if that was even their real, if it was even their real image, right? You don't know, because until you physically see a being, you have no idea. You can make up all these stories all you want. People make books about it. Man, there's so many people that have just make a fortune talking about their experiences. But a lot of their experiences, and this is what astonishes me, a lot of their experiences is the same thing. It's through telepathy and through meditation, right? The only people that I have really feel have seen a physical presence of these beings are those, again, who are in families of the Secret Service, the CIA, military, the families. They have had those connections physically, because I feel that there has been treaties that have been signed. If you do research on the UFO phenomenons and things of that nature, I feel that there has been treaties that have been signed with beings. It's hard to say where they came from, right? But I feel that there's been a treaty with humanity, with these beings, and we're kind of seeing what those treaties are. It's bizarre stuff, right? And that's just me. I go into detective mode. I want to know. I don't take anybody's word for it. So, like I was saying, you know, we got these people that are making lots of money just saying, oh, hey, I contacted so-and-so, and this is what was presented to me. They'll make a huge teaching about it. Say, oh, this is the teaching of Thoth, or this is the teaching of Thor, or teachings of Christ, teachings of made-up beings, right, or elementals, right? They form some kind of course and teaching that is centered around these souls, right? Around these souls, and then it sells, and people buy it, and it's very interesting, right? That's not what I'm all about, right? What I'm about is keeping things real, honest, and finding ways to help improve and heal your life. Learn how to heal yourself, fix yourself, love yourself. Learn how to become what's the word I'm looking for? Confident within yourself, where you know how to take care of yourself, right? You can pay your bills, keep food on the table, and find things that you love to do, right? And make a living doing it. I'm still trying to figure out how to do it, right? But I think that we all have lessons and things we have to learn first before we can make it to that next level, before we learn how to do it. I matured a lot, right? And the reason why I'm talking about myself is because it's important to share that, right? A form of maturity. I've matured a lot. I'm what, 40? Yeah, I'm 40. It's pretty crazy. But I used to be a super negative person, right? I was 100% into the Christian faith and centered just on that alone. Any other religion I felt was, from what I was taught, was not the right one. Like, I was taught that Christian was the only way. But I was always very negative about things. Very cautious about who I talked to and everything like that. But when 2010 hit, I had a whole turnaround in my life, right? I learned how to love myself and forgive myself. I learned not to be negative, right? I learned the process of balance, stability, learning about the spirit realm in a way I wasn't taught in church. And just my relationship as a whole, since I was so used to having Christ as my guide, that's strengthened, right? My connection with the Creator grew closer, and my connection with Christ grew even closer, because that interaction with Christ was not just hearing Christ's voice through prayer. It was actually going through deep meditation and sitting with Christ on grass, watching the river flow, right? Those deep meditations that are beautiful, and you're just walking and interacting with that soul, right? With that soul, through the imagination, or wherever that process came from, right? It's bizarre. And I even told Christ, I'm like, how is this even possible? How am I sitting here on grass watching this river flow and things like that? I can smell the water, I can smell the grass, the fresh air, right? I was like, man, how is this deep meditation feel so real? And Christ is like, you need to define what is real anyways. And then after that meditation, I was like, man, that sounds just like the Matrix movie. But you have to define what is real, right? We're taught things, but we're not taught it's real. We just assume it's real because we see it, right? I see this drink here, I see this phone here, right? I even see myself, right? We call it real, right? We're living in a moment of something. And that's the same way through meditation, as you're interacting with souls, right? It's real in the moment, right? There's something that's being presented in the moment. And you have to make sure, and this is what Christ told me, you have to make sure you do not get caught up in the moment. You're staying observant, you're staying diligent, and then you observe the moment after it's done. You go through meditation, you observe the moment, write it down, and see what was presented, right? Was there deception involved? Was there bliss involved? Was there joy or confusion? What kind of The emotions were presented, right? And continue to expand upon that as well. Hey, how's it going, White Waves? Let's see. White Wave says, I asked the spirits what message they would have for men to snap them out of illusion. One answer I got was the word reality. Oh, man. Yeah, us guys, yeah, we deserve a good slap here and there. But what's reality, though? What is reality? We are taught what reality is, but what's reality as a whole, right? We are taught so many narratives, so many how-to narratives, so many selective narratives, that you create what's real, right? You learn the word real and you make it real, right? There's no such thing as reality in general, right? I mean, you can break down the word reality. You get real, the it factor, right? Everything is an it, right? This is an it. This phone is an it. Everything is an it. But we choose to name that it as something. So a bottle and a phone, right? We choose to create a name, just like in the Bible, right? Adam was told to name all the animals, right? So they were all its that had no narrative. So humanity gave its a narrative, right? So we gave the word animals a narrative, right? So we have lions and they have a narrative. We have bears, they have a narrative. We have frogs, they have a narrative. We have birds and they have a narrative. So therefore, all these narratives form a reality. So now we have lions and their family, and they have a reality. We have humans, right? And they give themselves an added reality. So we have humans, and then each human has an own individual name, and then they have their own individual experience, right? Because we're not used to, humans aren't used to being packs, right? The whole tribal and working together has kind of fallen away for humanity, right? So it's always been of a singular nature. And that's where selfishness over time developed as well. So many different narratives. Things are very simple, and then as you create more narratives, you create more realities, which is why we have the chaos and confusion as well. White Wave says she was talking about humans. I bet you're talking about men too. No, just kidding. Thank you. She said breaking it down pretty good. Yeah, and it takes practice too. Because right now, that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm breaking down all the walls that I can as I'm creating the courses that I'm going to be presenting, because I'm looking at the future, right? I'm looking at kids and teenagers and what do they want to learn, right? When I was getting out of work today, right? School's back, everybody's in school again, so you'll see kids and teenagers walking around in the stores and everything, and you can tell that kids aren't being taught anything. They're bored. They're wasting eight hours a day not learning anything, right? I have conversation with my son, and he's just like, yeah, you don't really learn anything, right? I think the only thing that when my son was in the private school, he liked the one teacher he had. He was the pastor of the private school, and he said that he would talk a lot about the stuff I talk about, right? And he was like, man, that sounds like my dad. But he said that he would learn a lot more from him than he would for all the other things, right? And there's another teacher he liked, and they would read through these books, and some of them were interesting, but he would have to write down things as well. But as a whole, kids and teenagers are not learning anything. They are wasting their time because schools, public schools, teach you how to be followers, and they teach you the basics. They teach you the history they want you to believe, a selective narrative, and then if you want to learn more, then you got to go to college, and you got to do the same stuff that makes no sense in what you're learning, right? I mean, if you want to be a scientist, why are you learning about history, right? They say you got to have these different subjects to do to make credits, right? They make all of these narratives, they make all of these things, the complex things, and then all you get is a piece of paper, right? That has no value, but you give it value. That piece of paper gives you value as well. And getting back into interacting with souls and souls, spirits, whatever it may be. Let's see, White Wave says, good teachers are angels, but yeah, no servant is higher than his master or policy. Ooh, and that's a good one right there. And that's something that has to change too, right? Is when someone is mentoring you, right? I mean, you could say teacher, but I think of the word mentoring you in a narrative, whether it be through religion or spiritual practices, meditation, eating healthy, exercising, lifting weights, whatever it is, good hygiene, whatever it is, right? They are mentoring you to be a better version of yourself. Teachers of the past and even teachers now need to pay attention and be aware that we are mentoring people to also be leaders, and we are mentoring people to mature in life. And then since we did mentor them, they have the ability to mentor somebody else, right? People take the spotlight for granted. They get rich off the spotlight, and I think people get lost in the spotlight, right? We have to pay attention to those. I always tell people, I'm like, if that person on the spotlight doesn't view you as an equal, then they're not a good mentor. I view everybody as an equal, right? I don't care what job title you give yourself, how many years you've done something. It's just a narrative and what you learned, right? But we're all equal. We're all equal. We might know more stuff about something, but we may not know nothing about something else, right? It's important to pay attention to all of that, right? And we're all connecting, right? As well, right? We're all soul connecting. Like I said, I put spiritual connections because people talk more about spirits, but it's legit souls, right? We are interacting with a being of some kind, and that's what teachers do. There's so many manipulators out there that teach, and they get lots of money too. And it astonishes me how they got there. But I think it's just because you need to know how to manage your business and how to maintain that as well. But we need good, honest people out there, right? Who are mature, who want to help others, right? That's what it's all about, is helping others succeed and get ready for the change, right? Because we got to teach our kids and teenagers, we got to engage with them. They need to learn about their soul lineage. They need to learn that they are a soul. They need to learn that this meat suit is not them, but they're down here for a mission. They're down here for a reason. They need to be aware of narratives of this human experience. We're born into a realm of narratives, and that's what we need to start teaching our kids and teenagers, so then they can mature and get to their mission quicker, right? You know, we've all had missions. I knew I had a mission like way early on. I didn't know what it was. And then I had my kind of forced awakening, right? Christ was just waiting there next to my computer with a couple beings and just said, hey, it's time to learn about the ways of the world. I'm like, whoa, what? And but I had already known when I was a child that I was going to be a part of something, right? And if I would have known what that mission was, maybe I could have did things quicker. But on the other hand, with my life and how things played out, I have learned so much about humanity that it has helped me not be deceived, right? Let me say that again. That everything that I have been through has helped me to not be deceived, because I learned about deception. I learned about how people do things. There's loving people. There's not loving people. There's people who will play games with you. There's people who act nice, but then they're actually ugly. And then there's people who are ugly who are actually nice, so you need to get to know them better. I learned a lot. And I think that was important for me to go through that, so then I could mature in a lot of things and not be deceived as well. So when I was learning about all these teachers and things like that, oh, this person's contacted Pleiadians, or oh, here's a message from Christ, or oh, this and that from these different souls, I would just take with a grain of salt and go, okay, what did I learn from this? Let me go in deep meditation. Let me talk with Christ and share it with him and see what he thinks about this information that was presented. Some of it was real, some of it was fake, right? A lot of synchronicities. I've had that a lot, where there's people that are talking and there's a lot of synchronicities. I'm like, hey, that's real and authentic. And then I had deep meditations about some other things, and there's no synchronicity, and it was lies, right? The news is promoting lies, right? Fake news has been the huge thing for the past 3 years. Fake news. It started the process of confusion, where we don't know what's real anymore. We don't know what's real with anything about the news. We don't know what's real about spiritual connections with ETs and ships and Galactic Federation of Light and Christ coming back. All these narratives, we don't know what's real. We don't. If you look at from a religious viewpoint, right? Our great granddad or grandma has been waiting for Christ to return forever, right? Someone can have a whole lifetime of waiting for Christ to return, and then they pass away from this life, and that's their narrative, They were waiting for a savior. But that person had a great life because they had the mentoring of Christ within their life, right? And then there's others who may have been the opposite of trying to force people to become a religious title, right? And they did that their whole life. Christ never returned, but that's what they did, right? So it's important to live your life to the fullest. Don't allow your practice to overtake you. But on the flip side, you also want to help people. And the only way you're going to be able to help people is through your maturity and what you've learned, right? Say you're an alcoholic and then you've been sober for 14 years plus. That's a beautiful testimony, and that's what needs to be shared. I got a friend who's been, I think, 2 or 3 years sober now. I'm like, dude, you got a testimony, man. Share it out. Another friend, he's been off of drugs that he was doing for 2 years, I think it was. I'm like, dude, you got a beautiful testimony. Share it out there. People are waiting for that. You know, there's people that are struggling with drugs. People want to hear that there is a way that you can make your life better. People want to hear that. People want to know that. But when and that's real stuff, right? That is real stuff. You have anxiety, you have any kind of issue, right? People will search for those who have healed themselves and who have went through it. Now on the flip side, there are those who are struggling, and they will watch people who struggle, and they will just stay in that mindset of struggling, and they will interact with them because they struggle together, but there is no resolution. There is no getting out of their situation. They're remaining in that loop, and that's all they know, right? Because they chose to just stay in that loop, and they didn't choose to try something different, right? To change their reality, because maybe they were raised that way, right? I've seen so many different homes, so many sad homes, of single moms or dads and drug abuse and just kids being neglected, things like that, man. It's sad stuff. It really is. But again, I learned about all this stuff, and it was important that I did. And I learned a lot. And that's where we have to plant seeds for these people, because, if they do want to get better, they can say, oh, hey, I remember Adam Starseed Bey. He said something and it changed my life, right? And that's what we're here for, right? Humanity is going through a process of healing right now, right? Because nobody's working together. Humanity's not doing their job at taking care of the earth. All humans are doing are fighting over each other, right? It's very barbaric of the state of where humanity is at. There's a lot of beautiful people. A lot of people like myself are ready for the next change, but again, it's going to be based upon the kids and teenagers of now, because they're the future. And we have to figure out ways to engage in new teachings for them, because what they're being taught now is a waste. And like I said earlier, I was just seeing these kids and teenagers, and you could just tell they were just lost. Now there is some good ones, like there's one I know. He's 18 and he's already starting a truck company. 18, and he's already ready to start his own business. That's because he took the dedication and willpower to to create that, right? To create that, and that's important as well. So, getting off topic, but at the end of the day, it's all about the connections as well, right? We're all connecting with souls, whether it be in not a physical body, right? We don't know the source of these souls, but we are interacting with them or getting telepathic communications from them. There's something going on there, but we're also interacting with physical souls, right? Whether it be another human, animal, whatever it may be, there's something that we're interacting with. So we're all creating some kind of connection, and we got to learn to move up to the next level, right? To not be lost in selective narratives, but to continue to learn about the multiple narratives, and start to create new narratives. So we can change the world as well. So anyways, I think that's about it. Talking for about an hour. Hopefully you guys learned something from this and go from there. Subscribe, comments, all that good stuff. Thank you for joining in. Remember to love yourself. Keep shining bright. Use your story and your testimony to help others, because your story matters. You do have a mission here. You wouldn't be here any other way, right? We're not here to pay bills and be in the slave realm, even though it feels that way. That's not our purpose. We're here for a reason, and there's a lot of things going on with humanity right now. It's a big change. It really is. So yeah. So anyways, love yourself. Keep shining bright. I'll talk to you all later. As soon as I figure out how to turn this off. All right.